Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for coming again. So I'm Jean. I'm the admin at eCommerce Go-Getters. And today we're just going to be having a conversation regarding wholesale, how to get started, and some tips. And hopefully we can get each other in the right direction. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over the top 10 tips that I have. So between the tips, I'll stop. If you have any questions, you can always type them in the chat, or you just can come on audio or video and ask your question. And at the end of it, we'll just do like a Q&A and see what everyone has to say. So usually the first question that we always get is kind of like, what do you need to get started in wholesale? So the primary thing that you're going to need, obviously, other than already having your Amazon account set up, is going to be, you're going to need your reseller certificate. So that's what we call your sales tax and exemption certificate for your state. So I put the link there for the blog at TaxJar that has the link to the states. So you can look up your particular state, and then there you have the option of finding what's required in your particular state in order to apply for the certificate. Now, the thing is that the moment that you register with the state to get this certificate, it means that you are going to have to be collecting sales tax for any sales, at least in your state. The rules may be a little bit different by state, so you kind of have to check that out. But at the very least, just know that if you are going to register for the sales tax permit, you want to set up sales tax collection on Amazon, at least for your state. And then at that point, what would happen is if a sale happens in your state, Amazon will collect the taxes on it. They will pay you out for the taxes. But what would then happen is you're going to have to pay your state. So it's going to require you to file your sales taxes, usually on a monthly basis. Once your sales get a little bit higher, what would happen there is going to be that you might have to pay it a little more frequent. So maybe it could be monthly. I mean, it just depends on the different states. But you just want to be aware of that first. So the thing is, unless you're interested in selling on Amazon long-term, becoming a professional seller, it's not something that I would recommend applying for right away. But in order for you to be able to get wholesale accounts, they are going to require you to have a sales tax certificate, because that would allow them to sell you goods that are not taxed, right? So anything that you order wholesale will not be taxed. Does anybody have any questions regarding number one? You can certainly type it in the chat. Now I know Moni said, yes, you need money. So we know we need money for inventory. But along with having your Amazon account set up, your eBay account, whatever other platform you're selling on, money to buy the inventory, the next thing you're definitely going to need is that sales tax exemption certificate, also known as the reseller certificate. Now, the second thing that I would suggest having, I mean, it's not a necessity, but I would suggest having is a website. So the reason why I would suggest establishing a website for your business is that you want to appear to be a professional business. It doesn't have to be a fancy website. It does not necessarily even have to be e-commerce. So you don't have to like display products for sale, but you should have your contact information, some kind of contact link for them to contact you, and an About Us section that kind of establishes your business, who you are, has some kind of mission statement. You want to check before you choose a name for your domain. You do want to check the website noam.com. So that allows you to run a quick search just to see if anybody's using that name on any social media platforms. It allows you to see the domain is available. It even checks just a general trademark to see if anybody has that name. Another thing that you do want to check is, at this point, not everyone is ready to register for an LLC. But if you go to the Secretary of State for your particular state and you do a business search, you get to do a business name search, and you actually get to see if anybody has the business name that you want to set up in the future in your particular state. So maybe that's something that you want to consider before you choose a name as well. Just make sure that it's available in your state. To purchase your domain, depending on your domain, you know, it could be a little bit pricey, but if you're choosing some kind of original name, some kind of company name, you're adding additional identifiers, you could probably get a domain that's not as expensive if you go to the websites oneandone.com, for example, or you can try name.com or GoDaddy. Those are pretty inexpensive for domains. Of course, it just depends on how fancy your name is. As far as creating a website, you know, they have website builders out there. You know, so if you want to create the website yourself, you can certainly do that. I know GoDaddy, it would be very easy to create a website on there. It's not expensive. The question is, do you have the time to be able to build that website? But that's certainly what I would suggest, because on every wholesale application that you apply for, it is going to ask you for a website if you have a website. And it will be rather easy. Your chances are increased of getting that wholesale account if you do have a website. And your website does not even have to be within the niche that you're applying for, but if you have a website, they're more likely to sell to you than if you don't. Does anybody have any questions so far? So, I mean, the first two are kind of pretty self-explanatory. Now, what happens for number 3? What you want to do is you want to know how you're going to analyze your products, right? So you want to learn how to use Keepa. You want to learn how to use Camel. You're basically going to track the price and the BSR history of a product. So you definitely do not want to purchase a product for wholesale without ever doing this. So you want to make sure that any kind of products before you buy, one of the things that you want to do is you want to add it to your inventory in Seller Central. You want to create a mock shipping plan just to make sure that you can ship it to Amazon without any issues. That's the easiest way to determine whether it's going to be a hazmat issue or anything like that, if it does not allow you to create the shipping plan, for example, because you want to avoid buying the inventory and then having an issue later. So that's one of the easiest things that you can do. Actually add it to your inventory. You know, like you're creating the listing, you add it to your inventory, then you go through the whole shipping plan just to see if you can actually ship it to Amazon. So that would save you any issues as far as not being able to sell that product for whatever reason. Usually the Amazon shipping plan workflow would stop you. So you want to make sure that you do that, but also what you're analyzing is you're analyzing when you look at Keepa, you want to analyze what the price has been for that item for the last 90 days. Has the price been consistent? If the price has been consistent, then you know that's a product that you would want to buy. If you see that the price has been dropping or it's been up and down, that's something you might want to analyze to see if you're willing to take that risk that the price will drop even more. Another thing you're analyzing is your BSR. So you want to see how does it rank in the category. Is it top 1%? Is it top 5%, top 10%, whatever number you're comfortable with. But also you want to see that the BSR has been, you know, usually a good BSR is up and down because that lets you know that there's a lot of activity. But you want to see that the BSR has been below a certain average, for example. You never want to see that the BSR is increasing, because if the BSR is increasing, not decreasing, that lets you know that the item may not be as popular anymore. So that's just a couple of things as far as just making sure that that's been one of the hardest things. Sometimes you get so excited when you finally find that profitable wholesale product and you're like, I just want to place this order. I'm excited. I just want to place my first wholesale order, that we miss that major step of analyzing the product, right? And so one of the easiest things to do is analyze it in Keepa. It doesn't take that much longer. If you have the Chrome extension, it's free. So if you have the Chrome extension on your phone, it's pretty easy to check it. So always. Another thing that I always look for is sometimes I even go beyond that 90-day. I look at the product for the last year, for example. And another thing I'm looking at is, has Amazon ever been on that listing? If so, how often is Amazon on that listing? If Amazon goes out of stock frequently, then that's something that I want to jump on, because I know when Amazon goes out of stock, I can sell it. But if Amazon has stock pretty steady, then maybe that's not a listing I want to compete on, because Amazon doesn't often share the buy box, for example. You know, so there's like a lot of different things. I mean, at first it does seem daunting, but the more that you look at Keepa, the more you'll understand it. So it's just a matter of just always looking at it, always seeing what's different. You know, sometimes I look at Keepa now, and sometimes I do see that the buy box is shared with third-party sellers and Amazon. I have never seen that before, but I did see that pretty recently. So you never know. I mean, you might come across different things. So that's why it's always good to always check it, because a lot of different things are going to come into play. So that leads us to number 4. Number 4 is just research, right? So there's going to be a lot of research. Everyone always wants to know, how do I find a wholesale account? Most of us are finding the wholesale accounts by just searching Google, right? So you want to find manufacturer websites for the products that you are already selling or products that you already have laying around your house. So anytime that you look, like let's say a grocery product or any kind of cereal or anything you buy, you always want to look at the box. You always want to look at the back. So you want to look below the ingredients, right? So it's always going to tell you manufactured by, distributed by, and so you're going to find what that company is. So then one of the quickest things that you can do, if they have a phone number, you can always call. When you call in, you want to ask, do you have the number to the wholesale or the sales department, right? And they can always transfer you. Or most of us just go on Google. So now you have the name of the distributor. You're going to just go on Google. You're going to search it. You're going to find the website. And then you want to look for something that says apply for a wholesale account. Or it may say contact us for wholesale. And then it tells you what the process is. And so usually the process is just to apply. They're going to ask you to fill in your contact information. They're going to ask you for your website. They're going to ask you what type of business you are. And then you just fill out an application, right? And so once you fill out the application, it may take a few days. Some may take a few weeks. Some may even take months, right? So sometimes when you apply for larger companies, it could take a while for them to get back to you. But normally what would happen is they're going to ask you for a copy of that reseller certificate. So you're just going to have to scan it or, you know, take a picture and send it. So that's one of the things that they would ask you. So that's usually where most of us start as far as researching wholesale companies for us to contact. There's a lot of online directories that you can find as well with wholesale companies. I've posted a few. Recently, I created a wholesale resource list. So we have a wholesale resource list in the file section that does have a list of a couple of different ways for you to find wholesalers. Another tip is once you apply for a wholesaler on the application, it is going to ask you what kind of business you are. One of the tips that I got for another group was that you can say that you're an e-commerce distributor who sells on multiple platforms. And then you can list the platforms that you sell. So most of us, of course, will be Amazon, but you all want to say you also sell on eBay. If you sell on Facebook Marketplace, you want to say that you sell there. You sell on Mercari, say that you sell there. If you sell any garage sales anywhere else, just put that there so that it lets them know that you're somebody who's well-versed. You're not just selling on one platform. Now, what will happen is you're going to apply for a lot of wholesale accounts and you're going to be told no, that they're not accepting Amazon sellers. If they do, then that's okay. It's nothing you did. Most of us get that answer. But that's why on the application, I would suggest that you have a website, because once you put your website on there, chances are you're not going to come across that issue. And then if you do, you can always say, well, I sell on other platforms. You can let them know what those platforms are, and they might be more willing to work with you. But of course, you're not going to land every wholesale account that you want. So if you don't, that's okay. There's plenty of others that are going to approve you. So you just want to move on. Another way to meet wholesalers, of course, is trade shows. So the big trade show that's happening right now is AMZ in Vegas. So that's why some of us are not on this call, because they're actually in Vegas at the trade show. So I'm excited when they come back, they're going to let us know how that went for them. So I posted a link to a wholesale directory that they actually have a list of trade shows. So you can look up a local trade show in your area. So for example, I'm lucky because I live in New York. So I live pretty close to Manhattan. So there's always a trade show over there. I haven't been to any yet because I haven't seen anyone that like excited me. The only one that I was kind of interested in happened to be in upstate New York, and with all the snow, I didn't want to drive. But I'm looking to see a few ones in the summer so I can attend, you know, when the weather gets better. So that's exciting. So that's another option as far as finding wholesalers, is definitely attending the trade shows. Even before I started selling on Amazon, I actually attended a few trade shows in my area just because I didn't have anything to do on a Sunday, so we just went. And so now it's funny looking back at them. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a trade show. So that was a little interesting, and it's funny because now that I'm selling on Amazon, when I should be attending the trade shows, I haven't. But I'll try to make my work my way over there. Anybody has any questions so far, or anything they would like to add? So now, I think the hardest part for me has not been finding wholesale accounts. I mean, I'm generally familiar with the kind of companies of products that I sell, so I've been able to find distributors for them. But I think the hardest part has been getting them for good price, right? Because it's so funny, most of the times the clearance at Walmart or the clearance at TJ Maxx or wherever you're shopping is so good that when you get a wholesale account, their prices are a little bit higher, right? So that's been the hardest part. So one of the things that you want to do is you're definitely going to have to get price lists, right? So once you apply for a wholesaler, some are online friendly, so all their price list information is online. Some will actually send you a catalog, right? So you're going to want to get that information. Usually you want them to send it to you via Excel. That way it's pretty easy. So then there's a lot of software programs. That's also in the file section, a list of software. I haven't used any yet, but I'm definitely going to be trying them as I work to increase my wholesale, because it's been pretty hard determining what products are going to be profitable or not. Doing them one by one is a lot of work, right? And I actually found, I'm excited though, I found my scan fob. So I'm going to try that now. So instead of me entering them by hand, I'm going to try to do my little Bluetooth scanner and see maybe that helps me. But I know that's still going to be too much work. So what I want to do now is invest in a one of those softwares, right? One of the price list checkers. And what the software does that's pretty cool is you upload the UPC, and it's going to match it on Amazon to a particular ASIN, and then it's going to let you know what the potential profit would be. Some of them even have information as far as what the average BSR is and things like that. So that will automatically allow you to identify which products are going to be profitable faster. So that's definitely one of the softwares that if you're going to do a lot of wholesale, you want to invest in. The next one is number 7. So number 7 is essentially just your minimum order quantity. So you just want to be aware of what amounts of product you need to be able to order in order to place that order. So definitely you want to start small. The good thing is most companies, unless it's a large company, you're going to start with a small order, which is good. Usually the minimums that I'm seeing generally are like about $150. So for the most part, most companies let you place an opening minimum order of $150. It typically does not have to be one product, but sometimes it's like one product line. So let's say if you're going to order something in, I don't know, ABC brand, then you can order multiple products within ABC brand to meet that minimum order of $150. It doesn't have to be one particular product, but generally speaking, it's products within that product line, for example. Another thing is once you start purchasing from the wholesale company, usually you don't do this right away, but once you've purchased a few orders with that wholesale company, there's something called net terms. So you can order with net terms of 30, 60, or 90 days, which means that you can place an order for a product, you can receive the product, and you're not actually billed for the product until 30 days later. or 60 days or 90 days. So that's something that you can consider as you grow. It's not something you're going to do right away, but that's good because then it gives you time to sell the product before you have to go ahead and make that payment. Usually it does involve an additional application process. They're not going to run your personal credit or anything, but they are going to ask you for additional information, reference, usually maybe your banking information. So they'll hold that for reference. So that is an option as well. Now, the other thing that you want to consider with wholesale, which leads us to number 8, is going to be your product prep. So you want to consider who's going to prep the products, right? So are you going to ship it to a prep center? Do you want to ship it direct to Amazon, or are you yourself going to be prepping it? I personally don't recommend a direct ship to Amazon unless, of course, it's a trusted supplier that you have previously placed sample orders with. The reason being is if the items arrive to Amazon damaged or crushed, it's really up to the fulfillment employee to mark it as such, right? Who knows if they actually decide to, hey, let it slide, and then your customers start getting damaged products. I mean, you don't know that. So I think that it's important at that point to consider whether, if you're not able to prep the items yourself, if you're not able to receive them because you live in a residential address, for example, you want to consider maybe sending them over to a prep center to ship them on your behalf. A prep center is great because that just adds another person to QC the products before it gets to Amazon. They're going to be able to check it to make sure that nothing is damaged, nothing looks opened, and they can label the items as well for you. So that's something you want to consider. So definitely there are things to consider when you start placing wholesale orders. At the beginning, you're placing wholesale orders that are small. So generally speaking, it should be fine for them to ship to residential addresses, but you always want to ask if they do. Maybe there's an additional charge to ship to residential address. I don't know. So you definitely, that is something that you want to ask whether they do. Once you start placing larger orders in pallets, you want to definitely ask if they do ship to a residential address. You want to make sure that you can certainly accommodate that in your neighborhood. Perhaps, you know, like over here we have like low telephone wires, electric wires and poles. It wouldn't work, right? So like that's why for me, if I'm ever shipping pallets, I would have to make sure that I ship it to a prep center, just because in my neighborhood they're not going to allow those big trucks. So that's something that I have to be aware of. Yeah, so I mean, that's what it comes as far as just products prepping. And everybody just knows they have to be aware of your product prep guidelines. So if you're doing grocery, get familiar with what they are for grocery. You're doing breakable items, making sure that those items have extra padding or anything. So make sure that they can pass that drop test. So there's no issues with that. So just making sure about that. Then the next tip that I had was number 9, which is just software. So number 9, you're just going to learn about different types of software. So the first one that we had is going to be the one that's your price list checks. So the next software that you have is their software called Storefront Stalkers. Basically that it's going to pull the UPC and the ASINs from an Amazon seller storefront so that you can figure out from other successful Amazon stores what products you may want to research to sell. So sometimes what's going to happen is as you start selling within particular categories or niches, you're going to notice the same sellers and the same listings over and over. So you're like, okay, this person seems to be on a lot of my listings. Let me see what other type of products they sell. So you would normally just click on their name under the listing, and it's going to take you to their storefront. And then you would just want to look at the products. If you want to know if you can find those products, so what you want to do is you want to plug that information in one of these storefront checkers, and then it's going to pull the information and it's going to let you know what products they have that are the top BSR categories, what products seem profitable. So once you do that, then you're just going to look again on our dear old Google and you're going to want to see if you can find those products maybe at another store, as far as like OA, for example, or you want to see if you can actually find a manufacturer, or a distributor that actually sells that product. So that's another good software to look into. So now we have Terry. So Terry said that when she places wholesale orders for eBay, she used a UPS store, which gives an address as opposed to a PO box, like from USPS post office. But it would depend on the size of product you're selling. So yes, another option as far as receiving goods is you can always get one of those mailboxes from the UPS store. So if you do the UPS store, you actually get a physical address. So it would be the physical address for the UPS store, and it would just be your mailbox number, and they can receive commercial shipments for you. The only thing is, it's just, if that's smaller orders, then that's fine. Now, the thing about receiving orders in pallets, though, is that there are additional charges for pallets because the truck needs to have a lift gate, so there's usually a lift gate charge. So that's something that you'd have to be aware of. So, I mean, for us, I mean, we're all beginning in wholesale. I think we're all going to be starting small, so we don't have to worry about that initially. But definitely, as your orders start getting larger, just think about that. And then the last thing that I had was just bundling. So definitely, as far as wholesale, the thing is, wholesale is great because you're going to be able to legitimately sell these products, right? Because you're buying them from an authorized source. You're either buying directly from a distributor that's authorized to resell that product to you, or you're buying from the manufacturer directly, which is the company that makes that product, right? So they're giving you the authority to sell the product. So you have your invoices for Amazon, so you don't have to worry about inauthentic claims or anything like that, because you're working with legitimate companies, right? So what you are going to find, though, is the prices are just not that low. You're going to find that in order for you to be able to get lower pricing, perhaps you need to order larger quantities, but we're not yet able to do so. So the margins are kind of really, really tight. So one of the things that would be important when you're doing wholesale to consider is bundling. So now bundling is when you're going to create a listing for multiple products and you're going to put them together and you're going to sell them as one unit. And that is going to allow you to increase your profits and make your listing unique. The interesting thing, however, is when you start bundling products, what is going to happen is others are going to start hopping on those listings as well, right? So if you get a listing and you get traction and the listing starts selling very well, you're probably going to have other people jump on that listing too. So sometimes in order to make your bundle more appealing, it probably would be better to bundle products from different wholesale sources. So not the same company, because if it's the same company, it makes it pretty easy for somebody to copy that bundle. Whereas if you're bundling from multiple companies, that might not be as easy to copy the bundle. But yes, Mary from Central Wisconsin Prep, she did say make sure you know your bundle guidelines. So definitely, yeah, as far as the bundle guidelines, you want to make sure that you look at them on Amazon, because generally speaking, for bundles, as long as you're bundling different types of products together, it's generally speaking okay, but you cannot create like manufacturer packs. For example, if it's the same products, the same UPC code, you can't just say I'm going to bundle 3 of them, right? That may be an issue. But let's say if you're going to bundle 3 products, they're the same product, but there may be different variations with 3 different UPC codes, and yes, that's something that you should be able to bundle. So no more poly bags. So now it looks like Amazon wants, as far as bundling go, you want to make sure you put them in a box now. So we're going to have to look at Amazon's guidelines. I know that there were some changes because I do shoes, so Amazon did say for shoes, they do want us to sell shoes now in the original manufacturer box. So that's new now. I mean, I was always selling the shoes in the original box. If I didn't have the original box or the original box is damaged, I would just sell that on eBay. But Amazon did come out now and say that they do want you to sell shoes in the original packaging. But yeah, so definitely you want to be familiar with your bundle guidelines. Also, there's other tricky guidelines like books. You can have a book in a bundle. It just cannot be that like the highest cost item, for example, or it just can't be like the main source of the bundle. Generally speaking, Amazon also doesn't want you to put generic products in a bundle because they don't want a customer to pay for one really good product and the rest of the products are junk. So that is an option there. Also, what Amazon says as far as the category that you're going to list your bundle in, you're going to list your bundle in the category, whatever aspect of that bundle, like whatever product has the highest price, that's going to be the category where you list your bundle, with the exception of books and I believe like DVDs, for example. So those can be included in the bundle, but they can't be the main aspect and they can't be the most expensive item of the bundle. So that's why you definitely want to look at bundling guidelines. Also, I don't suggest doing bundles at the beginning. If you're just getting started with wholesale, I don't suggest doing bundles because it's going to require you to create your own listing. Unless you can see someone's bundle listing and jump on that same listing, right? But creating your own bundle listing, it's not that feasible in the beginning because you're going to have to get familiar with creating a listing on Amazon. And actually creating a listing on Amazon itself is not hard, but creating a listing that's optimized to sell, that's where it becomes harder. Because you're going to have to be familiar with like keyword research. You're going to have to be familiar on how to create an optimized title with keywords, but also you're going to have to be familiar with Amazon's title guidelines because they vary for category. So Amazon wants the title formatted a certain way depending on the category and different things like that. But I did want everybody to be aware that at the beginning, the margins are going to seem a little bit low for a lot of the wholesale products. So you just want to make sure that you are aware that in the future, as you get more experience, bundling is something you could definitely look into. I just want to suggest it at the beginning because it's a lot to create listings at the beginning. Anybody has any questions so far? So, I mean, kind of the way that it goes for me, I'm still just in the process of applying for wholesale accounts. You know, every now and then I'll go and I'll see what new products they have, but I haven't really purchased that many wholesale other than the ones that I had already. I'm just more in this phase of applying for wholesale accounts because what I want to do is once I have a good amount of wholesale accounts, I want to now start entering the price lists in these tools so that it can do the research for me. And I just feel like I don't want to start paying for that software until I have actual use for it. So that's kind of what I want to do next in order to just make my time more efficient. Just kind of spend, you know, the next month or so applying for wholesale accounts. And then once I have a good list of wholesale accounts to go through, I can just start running them in the software and then work my way from there. But I think the best thing is going to be just making it a priority then. If you do want to get started with wholesale, at the beginning, it's not going to be to buy products. It's just going to be to actually get the wholesale accounts. So you want to make a goal for yourself to say, okay, I'm going to apply for 5 wholesale accounts a day, 10 wholesale accounts, you know, however many you can, just so that you can get the ball rolling in wholesale. And that's pretty much where it's at. So I'm going to just look. I know that I had posted a list of questions to ask the wholesaler for Mommy Income. So we went over some of them, but I'm going to look for it now and we could just go over a little again about the types of questions that you can ask a wholesaler. So Terry just said, would it be one niche or just random items? Usually bundles, it would be complementary. So it doesn't have to necessarily be all within the same product category, but it would have to be complementary somehow. And usually for bundles, you do want to do research because you want to make sure that the products are selling on their own individually. The reason why you're just bundling them together is for convenience. Okay, so for bundles, you just want to make sure, you know, you're bundling together for convenience. And you could charge the customer a little bit more because the customer doesn't want to shop for these items individually. They can just buy them all together. Now, as far as wholesale accounts, no, you don't have to apply for them in one niche. You can apply for any wholesale account you come across. So if you believe that a particular company applying for a wholesale account with them will give you access to profitable products, then you apply. I mean, everyone has like different criteria. For me, I'm selling pretty much in a lot of different categories. So the wholesale accounts that I would apply for are all going to be different. None of them are the same. So I posted for Mommy Income, they had a webinar regarding wholesale. And so the top 10 questions that they had, I'm just gonna copy them here. But one of the first things that you want to ask them is you want to ask them if they sell on Amazon directly, because you want to know if they're going to be your competition. What happens is sometimes you're going to buy from a wholesale company and you may not even realize that they're actually selling on Amazon themselves. And if that's the case, then that's a problem, because you know the pricing that they can offer is always going to be lower than the one you can. So generally speaking, sometimes what happens when you apply for certain wholesale companies is you're going to be assigned a particular sales representative that would work with you. Sometimes they set up a call where they actually show you the website. So when you get to speak to that sales representative, these are the questions that you can ask them when you're speaking with them on the phone. You can see they have an FAQ section, see that information there, or you can always contact their general customer service number if you have any additional questions. So another question was, do you have a minimum order? So you want to know what that minimum order is. Usually it's on the website, so that's pretty easy to find information. But what may not be on the website is if they offer a certain volume discount. So if you ever have a sales representative on the phone or you're about to place an order, you can always call in and ask them to know, hey, if I place an order above a certain amount, will I get any additional discounts? You want to know what that amount is. Also, do you offer free freight or freight discounts? That's just as far as shipping. So I've been lucky, most of the wholesalers that I've looked at do include the freight in the pricing. So then that's good. It's pretty easy to calculate what it's going to be. As far as pricing goes, if the shipping is already included in the cost of the order, you want to know, if there's an additional cost for shipping, because that's going to eat away your margins as well. You want to know what is the minimum order for free freight. You want to be aware if there's any liftgate charges on pallets, if those are charged additional. You want to know how do you pay for your orders. Most of the times, most companies are going to pay your orders, via credit card is fine. Usually they have some kind of online ordering system. Some other vendors might be a little different. Sometimes some of them still have you fill out a paper form, for example. So you want to be aware of that. You also want to know what's like the lead time from order to shipment. So you want to know when you place your order, how long it's going to take for that order to be processed and how long it's going to take for you to receive it. You want to know how they handle back orders. So you want to know if your item is not in stock, how long are they going to hold your funds, for example, for them to be able to fill that order. You want to know how they deal with any kind of like order and shipping mistakes. Number 8 is a really good one. For those of us that do create our own listings, you want to know if they have any stock images that are available for download. So a lot of times wholesalers and distributors will provide you stock images. So that comes in handy if you are creating your own listings. You don't have to take your own pictures. So that is one of the great things about wholesale, that you can certainly get stock images. Number 9 is you want to know if they ship to a residential address, as we covered, if there's an additional charge for that. And number 10, you can always ask them if they ship directly to Amazon. You want to know if they do ship directly to Amazon, do they place the Amazon label on the products if you provide them the labels? If they do not label, then you have to be aware that if you're having Amazon label it for you, that is going to be 20 cents per item that Amazon charges to place the label. And so Mona wants to know how to remove bad feedback. Could you clarify, so did you receive a bad seller feedback? Okay, so that's simple. You're going to go to help and Seller Central on the right hand side. And then you're gonna scroll down to the bottom where it says my issue is not listed, contact support. And so then when you're there, you want to click on the left where it says, I believe it's gonna say FBA issue, and then it'll allow you to enter your order, the order number where you received the bad feedback, and then it's just an automated system. You can specify why you want the feedback removed, and then the system will be able to analyze it and let you know right away if the feedback is going to be removed or not. If they decline removing that feedback, they will let you know why, and then at that point you can always reopen the case so that it goes to an actual representative at Amazon, and then they'll let you know if they can help you with that. Typically, as far as feedback being removed, feedback is usually removed if the customer makes any mention as far as pricing, or if it's like a product review, and not feedback on the order experience. Or the other option, the feedback would be removed, is if there was some kind of issue where the order shipped late or something, but that was shipped by FBA. So FBA will take responsibility for any kind of FBA shipments that were not on behalf of the seller. So that's kind of all that I have as far as wholesale goes. So pretty much as far as wholesale, you just want to make sure that you're researching what do you need first in order to get set up for wholesale, and that's simply just going to be your reseller certificate, your money, of course, and then from there you just start applying for wholesale accounts right away. Once you have wholesale accounts, one of the first things you're asking for is your price list, and then once you have your price list, you can start analyzing products. And so that pretty much just covers what I had as far as wholesale. So now, guys, we could just open it for like straight Q&A. So any kind of questions that you have, or if you want to share your experience, you can just type it in, or you can just unmute yourself and come on, audio or video, and let us know how we can help you. So I personally do not buy wholesale from liquidation seller. I just think liquidation, to me, it's a little bit more work, because the great thing about wholesale is that you're buying in bulk, yes, but you're buying usually a particular brand or usually a particular product. So it's pretty easy to prep. Now, the thing with buying liquidation is that you're going to basically be buying products in a lot instead. And so the issue with buying products in a lot is going to be there's going to be a lot of different products within that particular bundle of products, let's say. So now that's going to just be more work, because you're going to have to go look through it. And then at that point, it's more work for a prep center. So if you have a prep center, for example, for them to have to do that, because it's not the same product they're prepping. Now it's a lot of individual products, and they have to check the condition. And then that worries me too. I mean, when you buy from liquidation, if you have a reputable liquidation seller, you can always ask them if there's any issues or any problems with the products in that lot. Is anything broken, or any electronics not working, anything like that? And usually the upfront companies will let you know there's an issue. But sometimes you get the products, and the products you can't sell them, because for whatever issue, maybe there's water damage on the boxes. I mean, who knows what the issue could be? And I don't want to deal with that. For me, all the products that I send to Amazon, I want to send to Amazon, making sure that they're in pristine condition. So you're saying liquidation company also have single product in a pallet? That is possible. Just for me, like for my research, most of the liquidations companies, most of the lots that I've seen have been mixed lots. Even the lots that I've seen that have been like one particular niche, for example, are multiple products within that, within that one pallet. So I just personally don't do liquidation. We did have a liquidation webinar. So if you go to the file section and you see the list of webinars, you can see us discuss liquidation. But I just haven't had much experience. I think for me, it's too much prep. But if anybody has done liquidation, just let me know. So Mona wants to know if Inventory Lab is helpful for wholesale, OA, and RA only. So yes, Inventory Lab is helpful anytime you're managing multiple SKUs on Amazon. So anytime you have multiple listings, Inventory Lab is helpful because it just allows you to know your numbers at all times. Now, Inventory Lab is $50 a month, so it has to be that you can justify that expense. But I mean, anytime that you have a lot of listings on Amazon, Inventory Lab is helpful because it's going to allow you to keep track of your profits. And the great thing about Inventory Lab is that everything is cloud-based. So if there's ever an issue with your computer or anything like that, you're not losing the file. They store it remotely. And also, you can always run all your reports and export them to Excel. So in the future, if you need to upload them into any other software, Inventory Lab makes it very easy by the fact that everything can be exported into Excel. But yeah, I mean, as far as it goes for wholesale, the hardest thing with wholesale, it's not even so much finding the companies, I don't think. It's going to be just finding the products that you really want to sell to begin with. Because the margins I find are very low. It's almost like with wholesale, sometimes I feel like you might do better merchant fulfilling, right, than FBA. Because if you merchant fulfilled, your profits are definitely going to be greater. So that is something that I'm coming across as well. But it's just a matter of just expanding your thoughts as far as your categories, right? So everyone wants to do toys, for example. Everyone wants to do electronics. Those are hard categories. With toys, you're going to have a lot of competition. With toys, I see that the margins are low. Electronics, the issue with that is going to be some of them could be damaged. Your returns are a little bit higher. So I just think that if you want to start with wholesale at the beginning, just expand your mind and don't start with those two categories. Don't start with the two categories that everyone is looking into. I know grocery is very big. A lot of us are wanting to do grocery. But then the thing with grocery that you have to deal with is you have to deal with temperature sensitive products. So you have to be aware that April 1st, anything that's meltable, you wouldn't be able to send it in starting April 1st. So definitely don't look at those products. Hi, Maida. Thank you for coming today. Now, Terry had a question as far as beauty. Beauty is great. The only thing with beauty, though, is that if you're a newer seller, you need to get ungated. So for me, I kind of just waited till like the auto ungating happened. And so I got auto ungated in beauty without an invoice about 6 months into selling. I just haven't found a profitable beauty wholesaler as of yet. Finding finding a profitable wholesaler in beauty has been hard for me. I know that beauty liquidation is very big in beauty. So if you want to look into liquidation, that's big in beauty. But also beauty, just like grocery, beauty has sometimes beauty has expiration dates. So that's something that you want to be aware of as well. And so that kind of makes me nervous about buying a liquidation lot, for example, for beauty. Imagine if every single product in there had a different expiration date and I had to enter all them expiration dates. I don't know. Am I going to hire somebody to prep? Now, Maida had a question. What about the return list refunds on grocery? Does it give us an issue? I don't sell much grocery, but I know that if you do sell grocery, you just have to be aware of that. Because if you sell grocery and a customer gets a return on a grocery product, you would have to just submit a case to Amazon to get your money back. because Amazon doesn't require a customer, of course, to return a grocery product, would still give them the refund, but you can create a case with Amazon for them to reimburse you that, because Amazon would have to take responsibility for that product. So yes, Amazon offers the customer the ability to get a refund without returning the product, but they shouldn't penalize the seller for that. I know beauty is a popular product category, but I know beauty sellers, and I know they do very good in beauty. I know beauty, the margins are pretty good. But even beauty, I would probably stay away from as a newbie. I mean, if you're lucky and you find a good wholesaler, I mean, sure, why not try it? As far as the specifics, Maida, I'm not sure what they are. I don't sell much grocery, but I do know that anytime that there is a return for grocery, you can certainly submit the case to Amazon. And of course, with Amazon, everything is a case-by-case basis. So depending on the return reason. But generally speaking, I feel like if a customer is submitting a return on a grocery item, and let's say it's because they don't like the product or something like that, it's not anything related to your listing or the quality of the product in terms of the box, the packaging, how they received it, then certainly the seller should not be held liable for that. But of course, if there was an issue where you listed against the wrong listing or something like that, then that's something that the seller, you wouldn't get a refunded for that. But yeah, I mean, as far as, there's a lot of categories. It's funny because I can't even think of any right now. But guys, there's always clothing. I know shoes is hard to get wholesalers on because usually shoe wholesalers have very large minimum order quantities. But there's clothing. So there's always clothing to get into. There's always cleaning supplies, for example. But office supplies is a big one too. If you do anything liquid though, you want to make sure you're aware of your liquid prep guidelines. You want to make sure that anything liquid, you're kind of packaging it in a way where it doesn't spill, and you're always polybagging just in case it does spill, it doesn't mess things up. Automotive is also a great category, but the problem with automotive is you do have to apply for that. There's no auto ungating in automotive, guys. For automotive, you do need a website. You need to be able to display the automotive products on your website for sale. So you do need that. I heard it's not hard. Oh, okay. So yeah, you must have been grandfathered into that one. I hear that's not hard to apply for automotive. It takes minutes because actually I don't think for automotive they require you to have invoices, but you are required to have a website. So Monica had a question. She said, is it a bad idea to sell in multiple categories individually before going into wholesale to see what niche you're attracted to? She likes educational games and toys, but that's gated, of course, and flooded. Also, should I be knowledgeable about the products that you sell? You could definitely, it's not a bad idea to sell in multiple categories. You definitely want to do that because you're going to learn multiple categories. Yes, you're going to find a niche, but it's good to learn multiple categories because then if you do find a really good deal on something, you know right away whether you want to buy it or not, right? Like you just take one look at the Keepa chart and you know right away whether, hey, this is a product that's going to move or not, just based on the past experience that you've had selling a little bit of products here and there, whether it's RA or OA. Yeah, educational games and toys, a lot of them stuff are ungated. I would just suggest anyone that's on here, don't waste your time applying for Melissa and Doug. I heard that the wait list for Melissa and Doug is like 4 years. Melissa and Doug is not accepting any Amazon sellers, so just don't apply for Melissa and Doug. Oh, 1.5 years, yeah. Melissa and Doug is, every time I see that toy in the store, I just run in the opposite direction. I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. But there's always other options like Fisher Price, VTech. Like I know like the flashcards with the numbers, the letters, the shapes do good. Okay, so Samira did see them in the ASD show in July. They were willing to approve sellers, but they said we would not make it money. Melissa and Doug is a toy brand, but Melissa and Doug usually it's more like in that learning space. Toys, also puzzles, and they're geared more. I know like a lot of the toys are like developmental, so it's probably like toddler age range. But anytime you walk into a toy store, chances are the toy you're looking at is Melissa and Doug. But it's funny because they say you wouldn't make a profit. But you know what's funny? Like honestly, guys, I probably, if I got an account for Melissa and Doug, I probably would only get the account so that I could start selling those products RINOA. Because every time that I go into a store and I look for a toy, it's always Melissa and Doug. Now, Monica said that learning resources once a credit check is that common. I believe it is because it's probably going to be the net terms where you're getting the product first and then paying for it later. But if you don't want to do net terms, then you could just say, you know, am I able to pay up front? And usually you won't have to do that credit check. And so Christmas, yeah. That's the only time, right? I guess you would, because all the prices during, you know, Q4 Christmas skyrocket, especially on those products. Yeah, so definitely. Oh yeah, so Terry, if you have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old granddaughter, then yeah, get familiar with Melissa and Doug. Those are the toys. I don't even have kids. If you know that, I know the brands. And I don't have kids, so you know it's a bit popular. So that's pretty funny. Um, yeah, so that's kind of it. That's all that I have for today. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming and everyone watching the replay. I hope you get some good tips. If you have any questions, just let me know.